Okay, well, what'd you make of it?
Hey, buddy.
He's outraged that Kenny Pickett didn't wedge his way in. Where are you?
Well, listen, I think you're a little high on the Broncos' supply. So here's a fun thing. The Broncos, and then we can work kind of backwards from there. The Broncos' preseason projected win total was 8.5. They are going to win 8 or 9 games right where they were supposed to, and everyone's going to consider it a massive success because of how awful they were the first 5 weeks of the year. And I give Sean Payton credit for pulling them out of the death spiral they appeared to be in, but I don't think the Broncos are legit. I think they are more pretender than contender, and that's not just for the Super Bowl, that's for the playoffs. So, listen, everyone is just in love with the Buffalo Bills. 9 is obviously too high. Yes, they are dangerous on a week-to-week basis, but they are dangerous for themselves and for their opponent. They seem to have a lame duck coach. But after that, I think you did a very solid job here. I'm not going to argue with you anymore about the Chiefs. I'll just let you keep planting your flag that there's a lot of teams better than them, and then they'll win the Super Bowl. You said something about the Ravens, Colin, that you might have them a touch low. I think you have them a touch high. I would flip-flop them in Dallas. I don't know about you. I was watching Sunday night. The Ravens were up 13-3 on a hapless Chargers team. And I thought, Baltimore absolutely could lose this game. Like, of all the really, really good teams, they're the only one that a 10-point lead doesn't feel safe. And so I feel like Baltimore is going to, at some point in the postseason, have a game similar to the one Sunday where the offense just doesn't get going and they find a way to lose. So the Ravens, to me, I would have the Cowboys ahead of them. The Cowboys have played poorly, in my opinion, once all year. Twice if you include the Cardinals game, but everyone has a hiccup game. The Niners game, they played really poorly. Aside from that, they look like a great team. Obviously, the Chiefs are excellent, and the Niners and Eagles, when healthy for the Niners and Eagles under any circumstances, are excellent. So I think for the most part, this is a better than typical herd hierarchy. But the Broncos are about to lose 3 straight, and I don't think they're a top 10 team. 3 straight road games coming up, Colin. They're going to be dogs in all of them. I think they're going to lose 3 straight.
Oh boy. Let me ask you this. So I said about Justin Fields. 33 starts. If you went to a stand-up comedian for 33 minutes and you didn't laugh much, he's not that funny. After 33 starts, what I saw C.J. Stroud do in the second start, it's like obviously accuracy, seeing the field, like it's over, right? I do think he'll get another chance, but like in Chicago, it's over, right? You have to draft Caleb Williams.
Well, certainly. Like the Bears now are just the biggest games for the Bears all year are the remaining Panthers games. They need the Panthers to finish with the worst record. The Panthers will probably help them out with that. And then, yes, obviously you draft Caleb Williams. And then I'm not ready to say Justin Fields can't work. I am ready to say he's not going to work in Chicago.
Okay.
I said this before the deadline. It didn't happen, but I wonder if it could happen this offseason. Colin, what do you think of this? And there are other people who have speculated of this connection. Justin Fields for a second-round pick to Atlanta.
Yes.
Atlanta is indoors.
Yep.
Ton of speed and talent on offense.
Yep.
They say they have a better defense than people think. That you could run an offense that works for him. They don't have the quarterback there. It's not going to be Ritter. For Atlanta, it's kind of a buy low opportunity. And for Chicago, you get, the 45th pick of the draft to keep rebuilding your team. That's the environment, Colin, that I think because he does show flashes.
Yes.
The reason it's hard for me to just give up on him is I am more convinced Kenny Pickett will never be an above-average starter than Fields, even though Pickett has had far more success. Yeah. Because Pickett never makes me say, wow, look at that. Justin does, but Justin also makes some terrible mistakes and has a lot of holes in his game. But he's so big, he's so strong, and so gifted physically. And I saw, he's had some really good moments as a passer as well. I wouldn't want to give up on him. But if you're the Bears, you obviously have to draft Caleb if you end up with the number 1 pick.
Think about this, Nick. They have 2 firsts. If you could get a second, they'd have 2 seconds. They already have a third and 2 fourths.
Yep.
That number 4 pick, if you get Caleb, you could trade down 6-7 spots, still get an elite player, and get another one. Their future,
Colin,
it's not it's not as gloomy as people think.
It's not that bad, and they have a ton of money. And listen, what you just said, I heard today on a very, very popular podcast, What's Right with Nick Wright, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. That exact scenario. Which is you draft. Listen, if they were to end up with 1 and 3, I would draft Caleb and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
But they're not going to end up with 3. Their pick is going to be 5 or 6. That's Joe Alt. There's the Penn State O lineman.
Yeah.
But they used the 10th pick last year on an O lineman. I love the idea for Chicago of drafting Caleb, trading down from their own pick to acquire an additional first-rounder next year, and really trying to rebuild with a bunch of blue chippers. I think that is, you have DJ Moore. I thought they paid a premium for Montez Sweat, but then they did get him signed. You have at least a potentially bright future, and you'll get something for Justin. So I think that is absolutely the path.
I want to talk Cowboys for a second, because you and I have always been a little bit of a pretender, big brand, little hype, beat the bad teams, not the good ones. But it's interesting about Mike McCarthy, and I defended him. I said the knock on Mike McCarthy is late game management, clock management, play calling.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan's brilliant. Lost a 28-3 Super Bowl lead. Bad play calling. Sean McVay gets dragged for it. Harbaugh made a mistake against the Chargers this weekend. Andy Reid in Philly got crushed for it. Is that almost every coach gets crushed for that unless you have a star quarterback that just makes plays. So with Favre, Rodgers, and Dak, they've all had arguably great years. Sometimes they're greatest with McCarthy.
Yeah.
And that what he gets dragged for is what even McVay and Andy Reid get dragged for. It's hard. It's fast. It's late game. There's analytics. There's pressure. And that Mike McCarthy and Dak now have gone from being overvalued to a tad undervalued in this league.
That's how I felt going into the year. And it's why, listen, you're right that I have been, over the time that we've known each other, mostly a Cowboys skeptic. But this year, with that defense, I thought Dak was poised for a bounce-back season. Listen, Dak, for his career, is 5th in NFL history in touchdown-to-interception ratio. He has 1 year where he's a high interception guy, and people started acting like that's who he's always been. It's not who he's always been. So, before the year, I picked Dallas to win the conference. Obviously, right now, is San Francisco, it looks like they can't beat them, and Philly has had the better season. But I think Dallas is right there with those teams. And as far as McCarthy goes, and I was having this discussion the other day, those of us, and I am at the forefront of it, that pick at coaches for they're not aggressive enough or the clock management, things like this, we're yet to find the perfect coach. It's not like though there's any of us can be like, he's the one who gets it right all the time. So like Dan Campbell is great on 4th downs, but on actual game management, clock management stuff has been lacking. We thought our hero was going to be Brandon Staley. That didn't go well at all because he had a few 4th downs go against him. He stopped doing it. And like you said, the 2 most brilliant play designer guys that we've ever seen, I shouldn't say we've ever seen, but the coaching right now, Shanahan and Andy Reid, struggle massively with some of the game management stuff. Mike McDaniel, who everybody loves, if you remember the end of that playoff game last year, he struggled with some of that stuff. And now he had Skylar Thompson. You don't kill him for it, but that's the only sample we have of him in that super high leverage moment. I am coming around to this idea. Maybe there isn't the perfect coach out there. Maybe the guys who get the most out of their players are going to struggle in this. The guys who are great on the analytics stuff maybe aren't always getting the most out of their players. Here's what I know. The Cowboys are about to, for the 3rd straight season, win 12 or more games. Less than a dozen teams in NFL history have done that. You can't do that without a good coach-quarterback combo, and at the very least they have that. And Dak, in a weird year, Dak, if he balls out on national TV on Thursday and then beats the Eagles on national TV the next week, Dak Prescott very well might end up being the leader for MVP going into the final few weeks of the season.
So I don't remember if this was a topic. Oh, this was a topic when you and I did a podcast, and I want to revisit this.
Okay.
I got a lot of crap for years, and I kind of leaned into it because I did believe it, but I thought it was funny on the hat-on-backward stuff.
Yeah.
And my takeaway is that Wednesday presser, bank sponsor, face of the franchise, most important presser. After a game, I understand. You showered. It's a bit of a mess. I'll give you a little pass. That Wednesday presser, Jalen Hurts is the most quarterback-ial presidential quarterback I've ever seen in my life. He is virtually manicured, says the right stuff, succinct, to the point, no excuses. And I watch Philadelphia in the second half. They're winning with maturity. They're winning with decision-making. And even as a Chiefs fan, when Mahomes broke onto the scene, what we were blown away with is that he was the same quarterback, winning, losing, trailing lead. It never changed. Hurts maybe only the second guy, Brady, Elway kind of in that class. Decision-making, intelligence, resilience. I'm fascinated by him. And even you as a Mahomes guy, are we undervaluing how great Hurts is in these crisis moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think I certainly have in the past. There's a lot there. So you mentioned Mahomes. One of my favorite Mahomes anecdotes ever is during the epic Josh Allen duel in the divisional round game, the 13-second game that, by the way, broke the Bills franchise, as I predicted years ago, and everyone laughed at me, but set that aside. He had one of those devices on that measures your heart rate. Yeah. And his heart rate only spiked when the Chiefs' offense was off the field. He was most calm when he had the ball and most nervous when he wasn't in control. When it's like, oh, this is out of my hands. And that always to me was telling, like, oh, his confidence is not fake. And there was, going around Twitter this weekend, an interview from Jalen right before the draft where, and I think it was Jeremy Schaap, I apologize if I get the interviewer wrong, said to him his college record and said to him, you only lost 4 times your whole college career. It's going to be different in the NFL. And Jalen, not cocky, but very earnestly says, well, we'll see. And he seemed to just truly believe, well, I don't know, I've always been a winner. So I think I'll go ahead and keep being a winner. And I did not think Jalen played well at all in the first half of the Chiefs game or the first half of the Bills game. I thought he played poorly throughout big stretches of those games. But then he comes through and makes the biggest plays, and his teammates believe he's going to come through. And to me, it is so different. And when you mentioned the press conference, I have watched now, and I'm not trying to pile on the Bills because I thought Josh Allen played awesome on Sunday. He just came up on the wrong side of it. But I've watched Josh Allen now for the better part of a month and a half have escalating existential crises at these press conferences. Talk about being in low positive, talk about not wanting to get too high. Well, we're up against it, and you can see it on his face. Yes. And Jalen, now maybe it's because he hasn't had a rough stretch. Jalen, just even in wins, is just, this is what we need to do better. This is what we did well. I know what the mission is. And I do think for the leader of any industry, that cool, earned confidence permeates the team, where now the Eagles are the only team in the league right now, other than Kansas City, that at every point of every game believe, not quite sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to find a way to win, and that is top-down leadership. Now, if they could just get their coach to stop being a child on the sideline and taunting fans and oppositions, I might actually like the Eagles. But Sirianni ruins it for me.
Nick Wright, as always, first things first, on fire. Good seeing you, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.